Picture a living room with one lamp on, the rest of the house gone quiet. A radio glows on the table, and the music feels warmer than the air around it. In those late 60s and 70s years, R&B didn't just play in the background, it sat with people. It traveled with them. Tonight is a walk back through 10 albums many listeners still treat like the final pages of classic soul. Number 10, Off the Wall by Michael Jackson.
'Cause we're the party people night and day.
By 1979, the former child star had grown into something no one quite expected. This wasn't the boy from the Jackson 5 anymore. This was a young man stepping into full command of his instrument and the studio itself. The grooves here are impossibly tight. The bass sits exactly where it needs to. The drums are precise without ever feeling cold.
Gotta straighten up your act and boogie down.
And yet, beneath all that polish, the voice stays elastic and alive, reaching, bending, letting joy spill over when it needs to. This is disco-era production at its cleanest, but the soul never gets squeezed out. Quincy Jones brought a kind of orchestral discipline to these sessions that few producers could match. Every detail was considered. Every silence was earned. The horns punch in at just the right moments. The strings swell without drowning the rhythm.
Gotta leave that 9 to 5 up on the shelf and just enjoy your...
And Michael rose to meet that standard, track after track, giving vocals that felt both effortless and fully committed. For a lot of people, this album was the last Saturday night of the 70s. One more dance before the decade turned. And even now, it still sounds like the room is full. Number 9, Backstabbers by the OJs.
What they do, they smile in your face all the time.
When this album arrived in 1972, it sounded like a city had finally found its voice. Philadelphia soul was in full bloom, and this record captured everything the movement stood for. The strings glide in smooth and elegant, but the stories underneath are anything but easy. These songs talk about betrayal, pressure, people who smile in your face and plan behind your back. The production feels expensive, rich horn lines, meticulous arrangements, rhythm sections that snap like tailored suits. But the emotion stays street level, grounded in real experience. Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff built a sound that could dress up and still throw a punch. The house band at Sigma Sound Studios played like they knew every secret in the room. That balance is all over this record. Sophistication without softness, polish without pretense. It sounded like success and suspicion at the same time. If you've ever trusted someone you shouldn't have, or kept your guard up around a room full of friendly faces, this album already knew. Number 8, Live by Donny Hathaway.
I've been so many places in my life and
Some albums were made in studios. This one was made with an audience, and you can hear that difference from the very first note. Recorded at the Troubadour and the Bitter End in 1972, this album captures a singer in full flight. The band responds like a single organism, rising and falling with his voice, leaving space where it's needed, pushing forward when the song demands it.
baby, can't you see through me?
And the crowd isn't just there to listen. They're part of the music itself, clapping, calling back, breathing with every phrase. Donny's voice moves from a whisper to a shout and back again, and the room follows him every step. The dynamics rise and fall like a real conversation, not rehearsed, not predictable, just true.
Remember when we were together?
This is soul as a shared event, not a polished recording. You don't just hear the performance, you feel the room. For anyone who remembers live music as something sacred, the kind of night that changed you, this album still holds that feeling. Number 7, Call Me by Al Green.
Sit right down and talk to me.
There's a kind of quiet in this voice that few singers ever find. He didn't need to shout. He didn't need to oversing. He just leaned in, and the whole world leaned in with him. This 1973 album from High Records is a masterclass in restraint. The grooves stay simple. Bass, drums, a few spare touches of organ and guitar.
You don't have to waste my...
The strings come in soft, never crowding the space. Howard Grimes on drums keeps the pocket loose and warm. The whole band plays like they're leaving room for the voice to breathe. And the singer moves through it all like he's talking to one person in a room full of people. Willie Mitchell's production was always built on feel, not flash. He let the pocket breathe.
That can brighten this old world, and it's...
He trusted the silences. The arrangements never chase attention. They create space. And in that space, some of the most intimate vocal performances the genre ever heard found room to land. If you've ever turned the lights down and let someone's voice become the only thing in the room, this album still knows exactly how that feels. Number 6, Superfly by Curtis Mayfield.
It's alright. It's alright.
A soundtrack that outgrew its film. By 1972, this artist had already proven himself a master of message music. But this record took everything further. The grooves are cool and cinematic. Wah-wah guitars slide through like streetlights passing a car window. The arrangements feel like night air, slow, thick, a little dangerous.
And everybody knows that it's alright. Whoa.
But underneath the surface, the lyrics carry weight. These songs don't celebrate the hustle. They document it. They question it. They show what it costs. The songwriting understood that a record could be a platform, not for preaching, but for watching closely and telling the truth. This is music that moved your body and troubled your conscience in the same breath. The groove never stopped, but the questions kept coming.
You got soul, and everybody.
If you ever knew someone who got caught up in something bigger than they could handle, this album already had their story. It still sounds like walking through a city at night, beautiful, alive, and asking hard questions no one wants to answer. If this is bringing back memories, subscribing helps keep these stories alive. Now, let's keep going. Number 5, Stand by Sly and the Family Stone.
Stand for the things you know.
When this album dropped in 1969, it sounded like the future crashing into the present. Soul, funk, rock, psychedelia. No lane was chosen. A new one was invented. The energy here is urgent and bright, but there's tension inside amid. These songs talk about standing up, coming together, finding strength in unity. But you can hear the friction too. The rhythms hit hard. The vocals trade off like a conversation that won't slow down. The band itself was a statement. Men and women, black and white, all playing with equal fire. That meant something in 1969. It still does. This album set the template for the decade that followed. Funk forward, message aware, genre bending, and built for big moments.
Try one down. Na, 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 na.
The grooves influenced everyone who came after. Without it, the 70s would have sounded different. If you've ever felt the pull between hope and struggle in the same heartbeat, this record understood that long before you did. Number 4, Hot Buttered Soul by Isaac Hayes. 4 songs, nearly 45 minutes. When this album arrived in 1969, it changed what soul music could be. These weren't singles, they were journeys. The orchestration swells and recedes like weather. The spoken word intros build slowly, patiently, pulling you deeper into the story before the melody even arrives. And when the voice finally sings, the payoff feels earned, not rushed, not forced, just right. This was the album that made album soul feel possible. Before this, 3-minute singles were the goal. After this, artists had permission to stretch, to build, to let a song become a whole world. It proved that patience could be powerful, that an audience would stay if the feeling was right. People stopped expecting the hook to come fast. They learned to wait for it. If you've ever needed music that doesn't hurry, the kind you settle into like a long conversation, this album taught a whole generation how to listen that way. Number 3, Lady Soul by Aretha Franklin. By 1968, the Queen of Soul had already staked her claim, but this album confirmed it. The voice was undeniable, gospel force, pop clarity, and emotional control that no one else could touch. Every track here feels like a standard being set in real time. The arrangements are crisp and confident. The rhythm section locks in tight. And the singer moves through it all with the kind of authority that can't be taught, only lived. She doesn't perform these songs, she inhabits them. Every note lands exactly where it's supposed to. This is late 60s dual at its peak, right before the 70s expanded the genre into bigger, darker, more cinematic territory. It marks the end of one chapter and the doorway into the next. If you were coming of age in that moment, you knew you were hearing something that wouldn't come around again. Some voices simply carry more than sound. This one carried conviction. And this album is where that truth became impossible to ignore. Number 2, What's Going On by Marvin Gaye.
Simply goes out every song.
This wasn't just an album, it was a world. When it arrived in 1971, it changed what R&B was allowed to say and how it was allowed to feel. The tracks flow into each other like chapters of a single story. The themes stay connected: war, poverty, faith, the weight of living in troubled times.
Yes, I want to know what's going on.
But even when the subject is heavy, the music never loses its tenderness. The voice sounds like it's grieving and hoping in the same breath. The arrangements float, saxophones drifting, congas pulsing softly, voices layered like memories overlapping. Motown didn't want this record at first. They thought it wouldn't sell, but the artist fought for it anyway, and it became one of the most important albums in American music.
When will it end? When?
It proved that soul could carry a message without losing its beauty. If you've ever looked at the world and asked why things are the way they are, this album already had that question, and it offered compassion instead of answers. Number 1, Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder.
News to pass on to every.
There are ambitious albums, and then there's this. In 1976, a double album arrived that felt like an entire life poured into vinyl. Joy, romance, politics, family, spiritual weight, everything fit because the songwriting was that strong. The musicianship is staggering. The artist played many of the key parts himself.
To make you its possession.
Synths, keyboards, drums, harmonica, and shaped the whole thing like a composer who'd been building toward this moment for years. The arrangements moved from intimate ballads to full band celebrations without ever losing their center. One song makes you want to dance. The next makes you want to cry. And somehow, it all belongs together. Many fans call this the summit.
You got to start a thing before.
the place where ambition, craft, and heart all reach their ceiling at once. It doesn't feel like a genre exercise. It feels like life in album form, messy, beautiful, and full of questions worth asking. And for those who lived through that era, this album didn't just reflect who they were. It helped them understand who they were becoming. That's 10 final signatures from a time when soul records felt like whole lives. If any of these belong to your house, you already know what they meant. Subscribe to stay with this kind of remembering. The next door is on the screen. Songs from the 70s that flopped and came back bigger than anyone expected. There's tips. Do YouTube.com. Watch VIX.